up, you chuckle fucks? It's your boy Dark Ragu here with What If Issei was saved by God, part 5 of this What If. Now, before I continue on, I just washed up myself a while ago, and pretty much I couldn't really record the entire kind of day since mostly I woke up pretty late. I woke up somewhere around 11 because of my sleeping schedule. But yeah. Of course, since I woke up at that time, I had to kind of wash up my clothes, but first I had to cut the yard because, well, I fucking forgot. Because I'm a dumbass. But not the point. Mostly after that, I kind of had to go get pizza. Well, at first I had to go get my gift card because my mostly YouTube Music Premium kind of had to be changed, and fucking YouTube had to kind of change the price from $9.99 to $10.99, which is a pain, but yeah. Pretty much I had to go get a gift card because that's the only way for me to kind of pay online. Not the point. But yeah, of course, mostly after that I had to go get pizza. Then after that, I wasn't hungry, so I started washing my car because it was dirty as fuck, and my siblings were basically being a pain in the ass. But yeah, took a while, mostly 3 hours, but yeah, because, well, it's dirty as hell. But not the point. Mostly after that, I just went over here. I could have recorded anything at that point because, well, mostly I had free time for myself, but instead I just started watching YouTube, mostly Terrorizer, Vanos, and Daddy the No videos because I was bored as fuck. But yeah, but that is not the point here or there. Let me begin into this What If. Let me shut the fuck up and let me begin. Now, I didn't actually rewatch, I just remember where I left it off, but yeah, because I've been actually thinking this What If the whole fucking day, but yeah. But that is not the point here or there. I will continue on with What If Issei had the spiral energy. Yes, I'm still trying to continue that on. I just have to think more on what the fuck I'm gonna do with that storyline, because I have the storyline, but this to continue it on mostly from where I left it off. Yeah, I'm gonna take a while, but not the point. But that's not the point here or there. But we go back into this What If. Okay, let me begin. Let me shut the fuck up and let me begin. So yeah, this is part 5. But let me begin. We go into mostly a kind of, well, a couple of months later. Mostly Zenobia has been actually training with Issei for mostly 1 month. This is where, well, mostly Issei and Zenobia has been training. Now, Zenobia has actually been pretty kind of skilled in swordsmanship, but this is where, well, when it came to Issei's swordsmanship, he was way better, way more talented than her. This is where, well, she was dumbfounded and shocked when she had to fight him because she thought she might be able to fight him and maybe at the equal same par as his power, but no. He summoned out one of his divine, well, mostly divine weapons. Yeah, divine weapons, divine weapons, and this is where, well, he just summoned out one of the basic ones, mostly one level, just a normal basic divine weapon, and this is where, well, he says, bring it. This is where, well, Zenobia thought that she would actually be able to defeat him and maybe finally get some strong children because she wants to be proving that she is strong and should be able to have strong children when mostly someone who's technically managed to defeat Kokobel with his sacred gear. But yeah, but of course, well, or not even using his sacred gear, just his power alone. This is where, well, she tried to, but she lost in 30 seconds. Yeah. Mostly Issei was mostly kind of just looking at how she was swinging her sword and trying to strike at him, but this is where, well, he easily deflected her sword, even disarmed her in only 10 seconds. Well, mostly not even 10 seconds, 20 seconds before being 30 seconds, and then just kind of points the sword towards her neck. Well, first kind of push her, well, mostly legs underneath her, and then just throw her down to the ground pretty hard and have the sword right into her, mostly one of her eyes. He says, you lost. 30 seconds, you have last. This is where, well, Zenobia realized that she was pretty much outmatched here. Issei isn't just called a bishop for being just the title. That title is literally has meaning for mostly Issei's skill. He's the strongest and the most skilled warrior in what's it called, mostly of, well, the group, the organization that mostly she joined. She joined the group that's called Nux, but yeah, mostly that's what it's called. NOX, but yeah, pretty much this group just prays to the gods of mostly the Chinese pantheon, but yeah, mostly the mythology, but yeah, mostly she just has to find which beliefs that she believes in, which of the Chinese gods. This is where, well, she's trying to figure out. She doesn't really believe in how the Jaded Emperor works, and then she just tries to kind of find her own beliefs. This is where, well, she doesn't know which belief of God she should pick, because mostly all of them are quite different from mostly the Bible God. I mean, the Jade Emperor is quite similar, but mostly he is just a little bit different. He's mostly a little bit like Zeus, kind of, but not much. But not the point. This is where, well, mostly she is just trying to figure out for mostly the whole month until she just gave up and mostly decides to just stay in the organization, just having to figure out maybe which belief she will kind of find or whatever. She just wants to kind of have a new purpose. But this is where, well, she changed her purpose from kind of having a belief to kind of just still praying from, mostly praying from, well, being in his organization is still praying towards the Bible God even though he's dead. Because that's still her kind of mostly habit. But she kind of found out a new purpose. She actually wanted to defeat Issei in a sparring match, but really she has been losing most of the time. She actually managed to kind of push him to use other swords, but mostly he's been still taking way too lightly on her. Of course, mostly her training and other things were actually changed from mostly her what's it called, normal training regimen. But this is where, well, just because Issei realized that what she lacks is the strength to wield the sword. It's not speed. She's pretty good in speed, but not much. It's mostly the fact that she has lacking in strength because the sword is pretty big for her to even wield. He's not saying that she's weak, but pretty much she will need something like a lighter sword for now before she decides to pick up like a heavier sword like the round dot. Of course, Issei has also shown that he can use larger swords than just a normal sized sword that he's been using against, well, mostly Zenobia. Zenobia kind of just sighs when realized that Issei can even use great swords similar to that Durantot size. Of course, well, Issei has also shown and how to actually use a great sword way better than mostly Zenobia has actually been using. Of course, well, he kind of teaches and how to kind of be in a position where she can actually use the full might of the, well, great sword. She couldn't really pick it up fully, but yeah. That's where, well, Issei just said that she should just use a regular kind of sword, a regular size sword, for just the minutes, mostly until she just trained her body fully to the max until she can be able to wield the round dot. But that was mostly what happened during the whole month. Of course, well, she was happy. She was actually getting really close to Issei, and she actually liked it a lot. The mostly position and what she was kind of doing with Issei. Not the position, if all people thought 30 thoughts, no. Basically, she was just getting up ranked from mostly being a new member towards Nux to getting to a higher position, similar to that of Issei, but not a bishop. Mostly almost close, but like 3 ranks below. But yeah, this is where, well, mostly she was happy, but of course she still can't really join the meetings of where Issei has to do with the other kind of like members of Nux. Of course, mostly those meetings usually takes higher ranks, even Issei, to be there. Sometimes the Jade Emperor, but this is where, well, Issei usually listens to something important, mostly the information, and then others just keep repeating the same bullcrap so he falls asleep. He might look like he's thinking, but his eyes are usually closed shut to being falling asleep, but yeah. Of course, this is where Zenobia wanted to actually hear and what was happening, but of course, this is where, well, she couldn't really hear. Of course, Issei told her anyway. This is where, well, he can really trust her. This is where, well, he doesn't really care too much, but yeah. This is where, well, Zenobia is always confused on why Issei even tells her. This is where, well, she kind of got lost some of the times, mostly Issei telling her. This is where, well, she realized that it's kind of boring and she probably doesn't want to rank up too high, so she can just listen to mostly what Issei usually listens to. This is where, well, she understands and why Issei kind of does that, why just tell her in an instant. Just because it's boring as hell anyway. Just to kind of just, yeah, tell her and how it is. It's just boring as hell. For being the strongest, mostly the strongest member in the group, the organization, he gets bored the fuck out of his mind half the time, but yeah. Of course, he does go into exciting missions sometimes, mostly. There's sometimes people requesting, well, mostly some of the members from Nux to kind of go deal with some of the supernatural either in China or in different places. Mostly not trying to get into mostly some of those places being sometimes in the other mythologies of like different gods, like mythology of Greek, or even what's it called, mythology of what's it called, Northern. But yeah, but of course most of the time those group members usually, those people that got hired usually would try to avoid those, but sometimes Issei might have to take them because he is considered to be the strongest. There's also some other people that takes him, but mostly Issei usually takes him because he's considered to be the strongest. Well, mostly last week, before it's been a month, mostly Issei was actually having to go on a mission. So nobody actually wanted to come along, and this is where Issei couldn't really stop her. So of course just told her to kind of grab the round top, even though she was told not to use it for a month. This is where, well, she was confused but decided to take it anyway. Of course, Issei had to kind of put a magic circle, mostly like a magic kind of like circle kind of seal on her kind of arm, just so she could seal the round top onto it. Of course, it worked well. Issei said that this would be special seal just in case she really needs it to focus enough magic into it. She does already have two other seals to kind of like summon out two swords, because she actually kind of got better with dual wielding, but yeah. But this worked well. She kind of nodded, and this worked well. She decided to pack up for some things. Mostly some fur coat, fluffy kind of pants, and other stuff. Mostly a lot of warm stuff. Mostly warm boots and other things. Of course, Issei was okay in his like bishop outfit, because mostly where they were going was going to be freaking cold as hell. Mostly it's going to be in northern kind of territory a little bit, but yeah, none other the case. It was going to be a fucking pain, but yeah. But of course, where, well, Issei just kind of goes. Of course, this is where Zenobia was freezing, and where they were at, it was kind of near some mountains, but still, yeah, it was still a pain. Doesn't work well. Mostly she was freezing, even though she had multiple layers of clothes. She was still freezing. Doesn't work well. She really wished to even learn some like fire magic, because god damn it, she's freezing. But yeah. Of course, it worked well. She was kind of wondering in where they were gonna, well, kind of go. But this worked well. When they kind of find, well, mostly they were still looking for mostly the person and who was actually causing trouble, because mostly this person was able to control the weather. It wasn't actually cold at this place, but still, the person has a weapon, a mythical kind of weapon that was kind of created by humans, but it was supposed to be somewhat kind of looking like mostly somewhat Thor's hammer, but not really. So of course it's kind of a mythical weapon like that. So they kind of can change this mostly weather somewhat. Issei has to go deal with that fucker, but yeah. Because they asked the northern gods, but the northern gods didn't really want to do anything about it. I mean, they could have sent a Valkyrie, which mostly, yeah, that's the case, but this kind of people were kind of a little poor until they kind of heard about the Nux group. So of course, where, well, they managed to kind of get their transfer magic circle towards, to get a message towards, well, the Nux group. But yeah, of course, the Nux group doesn't just request money. I mean, it's usually the first option, but it's usually other options. What other options there is usually either like food, other things, and yeah, you get the point. But this is where, well, mostly Issei is here just to kind of deal with the fucker, but yeah. And then his organization can deal with mostly the other things, but he's just someone to just deal with the problem, and mostly the kind of mess problem, whatever. And his organization would just deal with the organizing or whatever they need, whatever. But yeah. But of course, well, mostly they keep walking through snow. Of course, they find the kind of village. And this is where, well, Zenobia feels even more cold, and she's just wondering how Issei can even just be okay in such a weather with just his bishop outfit. This is where, well, mostly Issei noticed that she's pretty cold. Now, of course, Issei has just been reading the book the whole time when they were walking. Now, this is where, well, Zenobia is so confused in how Issei can just be so fine. This is where, well, Issei notices mostly from his corner of his eye. Mostly, he did open one of his eyes just to, well, not open them. He already had them open, but he just like noticed what's it called, Zenobia freezing. She really wants to stop for a second just to kind of try to warm up a little bit more, until mostly she felt mostly someone being behind her. When she kind of looks up, it's none other than Issei, right now put in his like bishop outfit, bishop clothes, mostly coat. mostly, yeah, Bishop coat onto her. This is where, well, mostly she was confused. She was even blushing a little bit when mostly Issei did this. This is where Issei says, "You better." This is where, well, mostly Issei said, with mostly kind of just looking at her. This is where, oh, she nodded, right now blushing a little bit. She actually feels a little bit bad the fact that she's actually getting closer with Issei, and the fact that she just likes getting closer with him, because he can actually open up a little bit and the reason why he hates devils a lot, which she kind of sees that he is disgusted with devils a lot. But doesn't want, well, she just kind of feels bad about him, but yeah. Of course, well, she kind of wishes that mostly Irina was here, but then again, sometimes that jealousy human side doesn't really want that. She wants mostly Issei to be by herself, well, mostly all by herself, but yeah. Or not by herself, for herself, but not the point. This is where, well, Issei kind of, what he's wearing underneath was basically a black shirt with mostly a black long sleeve. And this is where, well, he is also wearing like these, what's it called? Well, not brownish, mostly these blackish pants he has underneath, but not the point, mostly just pants. But of course, he's been wearing like black boots, but that's not the point. Doesn't work. Well, he does have, well, mostly he doesn't really have a hood or even like a beanie on top of his head, unlike Zenobia who had that. But this is where, well, Issei really didn't care. The cold weather doesn't really affect him. He has been in worse places, so this shit doesn't really affect him too much. Also, he does wear white gloves, but that's not the point here or there. This is where, well, Zenobia is kind of just keeps walking, and this is where, well, mostly she's so confused and why Issei is not even freezing to death, even when he took off his cloak and mostly his coat and put it on her, which she is a little bit blushing and kind of embarrassed, and her kind of leader kind of doing that. But yeah, of course, well, we go into mostly a time skip from that to kind of going into mostly the battle. The battle that kind of just begin with mostly Issei confronting the person and just telling him that to either fuck off or die. But yeah, of course, the person really didn't like the tone of the bishop, Issei, so of course mostly decided to start fighting him. Issei summoned out 2 swords of divine and started fighting against a person. This is where, well, Zenobia was actually kind of trying to get out of the crossfire just so her leader doesn't actually need to worry about her too much. But yeah, she's actually just looking at the battle between Issei versus this person, this psychotic kind of person. Now the person actually has an axe. This axe is mostly man-made, man-made somewhat, but it was supposed to be a replica of mostly Thor's kind of hammer, but it's mostly an axe. Its name is none other than so mostly the weapon is called none other than Stormbreaker. And of course, it's an axe that has, well, yeah, it does have the blade of the axe similar to that, but it does have the other side to just be kind of a dull, kind of like, looks like a hammer a little bit, but not the point. Now, the kind of like, to grab this kind of axe, because it is a dual axe, or not dual axe, mostly a two-handed axe, like you can use a two-handed or even one-handed, but not the point. Of course, the kind of like, mostly, handle itself is like a wooden kind of handle, but at least golden a little bit, with some golden kind of tint and just texture and other stuff. But yeah, of course, well, the person's right now controlling the weather and shooting lightning strike towards Issei, which Issei literally blocks it by just making a kind of sword shield right in front of him, literally just divine weapons of swords and just blocking the attack. Issei is just kind of fighting against this person now by just sending swords at the person, which the person uses a tornado to try to kind of like try to disdirect it mostly, or not disdirect it, just direct the kind of blade somewhere else from not hitting him, which it missed him, and this is where he's grinning, and this is where, well, before he can do anything, Issei uses his, well, borrowed power, mostly using the Omega, to smash the person down to the ground in an instant, like, fuck off. Or not borrowed power of Omega, mostly using the borrowed power of, well, the borrowed power of Longitis, which mostly true Longitis and but not the point. But mostly it's like a cross that appeared, well, mostly on top of the person, smashing them down to the ground by kind of using a gravity, mostly gravity manipulation. This is where, well, the person tries to get up, but this is where, well, he managed to, but this is where sword smashes into the side of the arm, mostly left arm. where mostly the axe wasn't holding on. He didn't hold on to the axe with his left arm. He held it on with his right arm, but before he can even try to kind of like fly back up there, mostly thanks to the fact that the axe kind of gives him a little bit of power flying up, mostly one of his legs are stabbed to the ground in an instant. This is where, well, he kind of grit his teeth, but this is where a spear smashes behind him, but behind his leg, and kind of just still stabbing him down to the ground. This is where, well, the person screams in anger and frustration. This is where, well, his eyes become blue, and this is where he says, "I'll make you disappear. I will kill you and that pathetic girl that you have behind you." This is where, well, mostly Issei says, "That's not happening." This is where, well, mostly Issei's eyes become a very murderous look. "I'm not letting you hurt my friend." Or not friend. My, I should say, how should I say? Oh, yes. This is where, well, Issei says, "Oh, yes, I will not let you hurt my partner." This is where, well, Issei right now has multiple divine swords all around this person and spears behind this person in an instant. The person widened his eyes, but this is where he was still about to use Storm Breaker, but this is where, well, mostly he was actually about to just launch it towards Issei, which he does. He just throws it from his hands to try to stab into Issei, which Issei uses what's it called, mostly the swords. Mostly he tries to activate, well, mostly swords in front of him, but of course realized that it's probably a Tarbatia. So of course he was actually going to change from summoning swords to actually making a barrier in front of him. But before anything happens, mostly Zenobia appears with mostly the kind of like great sword to block the Stormbringer, or mostly not Stormbringer, the Stormbreaker, which it managed to just smash into the, what's it called, sword, but of course just bounce off. But yeah, the person widened his eyes and usually just decided to clutch one of his hands, mostly his left hand, to the side, and this is where, well, mostly all the swords and spears smashes into the person, killing him in an instant. Issei sighs, and this is where, well, he looks at Zenobia. Well, he didn't just kind of, what's it called, he really couldn't do anything, mostly in the kind of situation with the axe. I mean, he could have dodged, but really he would accidentally kind of make all the swords and spears disappear. He had to kind of stay there and kind of focus a little bit and control. He had towards his mostly right hand a sword still, but yeah, he could have blocked it, but it probably would have still kind of been able to kind of probably bounce off of his trying to hit him away, hit the sword away, or mostly axe away, and probably still hurt him. But yeah, because it might just bounce up and just smash him still on the ground, but not the point. But this is where, well, mostly Issei kind of looks at Zenobia and kind of grins a little bit and saying, "Thank you, Zenobia." This is where, well, Zenobia's face becomes a little bit red and just blush and just look away. Issei was confused, but this is where, well, Issei picks up, well, mostly Stormbreaker, and this is where, well, Issei says, "Interesting, Stormbreaker. Here's Zenobia." This is where, well, Issei passed it towards Zenobia, which Zenobia was confused because she doesn't use axe, mostly weapons at all. So of course she just looks at Issei with a very confused look. Issei says, "I don't know, I don't really use axe weapons neither. Maybe you can find someone that you probably are interested in and just give it to that person or whatever." This is where, oh, she blushes and just said, "Yeah, sure." Of course, she's not really interested in any other male person or character or anyone else in what's it called, the organization. So of course, she's not really interested in any of those other people. But of course, where, well, Issei looks towards the person, he realized that the person's already all dead because multiple swords and spears stab into him. Of course, where, well, Issei feels really tired because he did a lot of things, but not the point. Even protecting Zenobia at one point, but this is where, well, he says, "Well, we should probably be going, but I feel kind of tired a little bit, so you don't mind if Issei falls down to the ground, falling asleep, but yeah." Mostly Zenobia winds her eyes and kind of just rushes up to Issei. Of course, right now putting the round top back into her kind of seal and rushing towards him. This is where, well, she then tries to check for any pulse and he's still okay, but he's tired. So of course, mostly she would use a magic circle to kind of, well, teleport them back towards mostly China. But the problem is she's really cold. So of course what she does is just kind of cuddle with Issei, even though it's quite embarrassing for her. But of course it worked well, just to kind of keep the heat in so he won't freeze neither. This is where, well, mostly about like 30 minutes later, Issei wakes up and says, "What's happening?" This is where, well, Zenobia says, about that." This is where, well, Issei says, "Wait, oh shit, right, I forgot, we gotta teleport out of here." Issei decides to make a magic circle so they can teleport. But yeah, they get back towards the mostly China, and this is where mostly someone actually managed to find them in this weird position and what is happening. This is where mostly it was none other than Jago, and Jago kind of said, Issei, is it Novia? This is where Issei said, this is not what it looks like. Issei gets up in an instant. This is where he's still a little bit tired, but still. He just didn't care too much, just to try to get Jago away from his back. Mostly away from just kind of annoying him with mostly Zenobia what she was doing. And this is where mostly Jago said, okay, little bro, I'll let you do whatever you need to do with your girl, but I'm gonna just go away. This is where mostly Issei said, Issei's face was red, even Zenobia's. And this is where, that happened. But this is where, we go into a time skip later on. We go into mostly, some people actually happen to fight a god. Mostly in the underworld. This god is none other than Loki, the kind of, mostly god of mischief. But this is where, he was causing trouble in the underworld because he didn't want to call the northern gods to align with, the devils or angels or fallen angels, and just telling them that basically gods are basically the northern doesn't need to align with such weakling. But yeah, this is where mostly he was actually sent to somewhere else by none other than what's it called by none other than Ajuka. And of course this is where mostly that happened. Of course this is where mostly the factions decide to send a bunch of children, but even Rasa Weiss who kind of tried to stop mostly she tried to stop Loki from doing any more damage or causing trouble, and trying to seal him away. Now of course Rasa Weiss doesn't really know who would actually be able to pick up the hammer. Mostly Azo just told them that he would basically call someone to be an assistance, someone, a supporter, to pick up the mostly hammer. Rasa Weiss never knew who it was, but mostly during the battle between Loki and her, she was actually about to get hit by, mostly attacked by none other than one of Finr's children, being named Scully. This is where Scully was actually about to attack her, and this is where, she couldn't dodge the attack, or mostly not the attack, but yeah, dodge the giant wolf. But this is where something happens. Multiple swords smashes into the, mostly wolf in an instant. And this is where, she was actually mostly mid-air. She was someone mid-air, kind of falling a little bit, but this is where, she couldn't really dodge. She would have used her wind magic circle, not wind magic circle, but mostly wind magic, but she was actually kind of a little bit tired. She was a little bit winded from the fact that she's been using a lot of magic to defeat or try to fight against Loki. But yeah, but of course it worked. She was actually carried by bridal style, and she was actually confused and why mostly Scully even had multiple swords around him. Now the swords were actually divine kind of weapons. She actually noticed them really quick, but she was confused in why she had to hit the ground until she looks down to the ground, realized that she's not even that far from the ground, but she's not falling, until she looks up and realized that mostly a white-haired person, mostly his eyes being mostly open a little bit and glaring at mostly Loki, was kind of standing there right now holding her bridal style. This is where mostly Zenobia, not Zenobia, mostly Rasa Weiss was blushing in an instant, just madly at this person because the person looked very cute and handsome. Of course, where the person is also holding her bridal style, and it's not really saying anything, but just glaring at Loki. Loki is also glaring at this person, this new figure, mostly because of the figure wearing a bishop outfit, but having an omega symbol and also a cross mostly to the shoulders of him, mostly shoulders. But yeah, of course she also, mostly Rasa Weiss has also noticed that this person is actually a bishop, mostly when she was put down. But yeah, this is where the person looks at Rasa Weiss and says, "Are you okay?" This is where Rasa Weiss right now blushes a little bit because for some reason this person looks almost the similar same age as her, and she's actually 18, but not the point. This is where they're not really the same similar height. She is 5'8", while this person looks to be mostly just 6 feet. This is where she is kind of looking at this person. This is where the person just kind of asks her. This is where she snaps out and says, yes, I'm really fine. This is where, well, she just snaps out from her just trance a little bit. And this is where, well, we'll see the person nodding and says, I understand. Good to know. Well, at least you're okay, Valkyrie. This is where, well, mostly Russell White blushes a little bit for mostly the person calling her Valkyrie. But yeah, which that is her kind of species, but not the point. This is where, well, mostly Issei gives out a grin, but this is where, well, Issei says, no, if you don't mind me, I will have to be defeating this god. This reckless god of yours. Since mostly the northern gods and even the Chinese gods do not really have an alliance here, I really didn't want, well, not really didn't want to help you. I helped you because, well, it was a part of my contract here. So yeah, this is where, well, mostly Issei said towards Wasawise. Wasawise was confused. This is where, well, she heard mostly the fact that Issei, or yeah, this is none other Issei, but this person is none other from the Chinese gods, which she's actually confused and why the Chinese god mythology is actually helping them, which, yeah, of course, the word, well, she really has never heard of what the Chinese gods are entirely about. She only heard of like two figures that are usually there and they're quite popular. The Jade Emperor Wukong, mostly also known as Sun Wukong, but not the point. But mostly she had heard of those two figures. Of course, some other gods, but this is where, well, she has never heard of this person. Is this person a god or not? Because mostly he's summoning out divine weapons, like divine swords. This is where, well, mostly, well, Scully was trying to get up, but he was actually pretty hurt. This is where, well, his brother mostly, Hattie actually tries to attack Issei. This is where, well, Issei kind of says, so, what's your name? Valkyrie? So I just don't call you Valkyrie. This is where Rosawise blushes and says, the name is, Rosawise. What's your name? This is where, well, she noticed, well, Hattie actually rushing towards him. This is where, well, the person in front of her right now kind of just says, my name? I could give you my false name. But instead, I actually do kind of trust you, unlike devils, I don't trust that much. But that is not the point. The name is Issei Hyodo. Issei snaps his fingers right in front of him, and this is where multiple spears right now launches from underneath the ground and smashes into Hattie. This is where, well, Hattie is right now just stabbed from underneath. This is where, well, Hattie cannot really move or rush towards Issei because it's already hurt. This is where, well, mostly Issei smiles and mostly Rosawise, which Rosawise is kind of entranced and just blushing a little bit. This is where, well, mostly Issei noticed her faint kind of blush, and of course a little bit has a smirk inside, but not the point. This is where, well, Issei says, she's actually kind of cute. This is where, well, Issei thinks in his head, someone else is smirking within Issei, and this is where, well, he says, oh, partner, I thought you didn't know anything about love anymore. Well, until next time that we meet again, but I feel like you won't need my power right now. So I'm going to sleep. This is where, well, Issei thought he heard his partner, or mostly brother, but this is where, well, he then sighs and decides to say, well, that's an interesting name, Rosawise. Other than that, I'll be right now taking this mission on. With pride, for the Chinese gods. But that is not the point. So, when what's it called, the Hammer of Thor gonna get here? This is where, well, Rosawise is confused until she says, it should be getting here in about, this is where, well, a hammer appears from mostly the air. This is where, well, Loki says, damn it, my brother's here. This is where, well, mostly he says, well, there's a hammer. And also there's that giant wolf. Finril. Yeah. Gotta deal with that first. This is where, well, mostly Rosawise was saying, how are you gonna, this is where, well, Issei puts his hand on top of him. And this is where an omega symbol, a blue omega symbol appears in the sky. Now, everyone saw that, mostly like the devils, like the devil Parajas, like, what's it called, Sona and Rias, but yeah. I saw that and widened their eyes and realized saying, wait, that blue omega symbol, it's none other than Rias widened her eyes. But what made them all realize was even more scary, Finril is right now trapped in a barrier, which he's confused in what is happening. But there's right now 4 figures in cloaks right now putting a barrier for mostly Finril not to escape. Right now, Loki is confused, but this is where, well, what he sees horrifies him. A giant, a massive, huge sword appears from the mega symbol. This is where, well, a huge sword appears. This is where, well, mostly mostly everyone kind of just wind their eyes seeing this giant sword. Finra is roaring right now, trying to get out of the barrier or something, but he can't. This is where, well, the four figures start singing, and this is where, well, Issei decides to kind of, then right now kind of does another kind of ability, which kind of summons out a gate, and summons out this figure, this black figure, with mostly grabbing onto the sword, and right now trying to smash it upon, well, Finro. Finro can't do anything but try to fight back. Mostly he uses his aura to try to fight back against mostly this god being. This is where, well, Loki is confused and shocked. This power of divine energy is just over him. It's just stronger than him. He's confused, horrified also. Pretty much just how it looks like. Wait. This is where, well, Issei screams out loud saying, God! Right, well, mostly he says, mostly. This is where, well, Issei says, God, send divine judgment upon that wolf. This is where, well, the giant figure is right now attacking the giant wolf. And this is where, well, mostly Rasa wife wide her eyes. She never expected the figure to be much more powerful than she ever expected. Loki sees the figure, and this is where he widened his eyes. This bishop. Mostly he did not notice this bishop from the beginning because he was nowhere near this beginning. He just realized that this person has actually appeared from a magic circle probably a while ago. This is why, well, he's confused because he was fighting against children a while ago. Of course, even Russell Weiss is considered children for him. But also realized that this person is also a child, but he's much more powerful than the devil children. But yeah. This is why, well, we'll see Issei notice Loki looking at him, and this is where Issei swings his hand to the left of him, and right now launches a sword, a divine sword straight towards Loki. Loki dodges it and just growls at Issei, saying, I guess I'll be fighting against you. Issei said, I guess that'll be the case. For my god, I will now send judgment against you. You, how should I say, evil god. This is where, well, or you evil prick of a god. This is where, well, we'll see Loki growls and says, why you? This is where, well, he says, bring it on. But for right now, I'm gonna leave it off here because my throat is hurting and I'm kind of getting really fucking tired. And I didn't actually explain very well in the other things because, well, I'm really fucking tired right now. I'm barely being able to, like, have my eyes open. But other than that, I'm gonna leave it off here. Bye, see you, and yeah. Well, I fucked up on my subscription, but not the point. Bye, see you.